What's up guys, it's your boy Light here, and today I'm going to be telling you guys about how I built my first ever VGC competitive team in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Now I want to start off by saying I've always loved Pokemon battles. From watching the Pokemon anime growing up to playing the games, battling was definitely my favorite thing. I'd battle against my friends on the Nintendo DS and all the way up through X and Y. I remember doing a ton of Wi-Fi battles all the time, but I was never really into VGC. I never really understood the concept of really what it was until a little bit more recently when I became a fan of Wolfie VGC. Now, for those of you who don't know who Wolfie VGC, which if you're watching this video, you definitely know who he is. But for those of you who don't, Wolfie VGC won the World Championships of Pokemon in 2016. And since then, he's built a very successful YouTube channel where he talks about VGC content and makes videos regarding how to build teams, how he enters tournaments, and he's a pretty cool guy. So I got some of his videos recommended to me, and that really educated me on the concept of what VGC is, how the competitive format works. And to give you all a brief overview, essentially VGC is the official competitive format of Pokemon. There are regional tournaments. There's obviously the World Tournament, which is once a year, and the format is double battles. So you have 6 Pokemon in your party, but you only bring 4 to each battle when you're matched up with an opponent. So after watching Wolfie's videos, and I had recently been getting more into Scarlet and Violet and building competitive teams for my single battles, I decided that I wanted to take a crack at the double battles in the VGC style format. This was when Regulation G was beginning. So for those of you that don't know, the official competitive format of Pokemon has different regulations, and this determines which Pokemon you can use in the official tournaments. Usually near the beginning of a game's life cycle, you can only use the Pokemon in that game's regional dex, and as the game's life continues on, that expands. So with Regulation G, this is the first format, which is known as a restricted format, where you can use one box art legendary on your team. So you can have one of these Pokemon, but only one, and the other 5 cannot be any of those restricted Pokemon. So when I went to go ahead and start building my team, you might think that I decided to, pick one of these restricted Pokemon and build my team around them. But my team began with Walking Wake, also known as the Paradox Past form of Suicune. So I play Pokemon Violet. I don't own Pokemon Scarlet. And a lot of you might be wondering, well, how did you get Walking Wake, which is a Paradox Pokemon of the past, which appears in Pokemon Scarlet? Well, there's actually a raid event where Walking Wake is obtainable only in Scarlet, and then Iron Leaves is obtainable only in Violet. But if you play online, you can find someone hosting a raid from Scarlet with Walking Wake, join that, and then you'll be able to catch it yourself. So a couple of months ago, one of those events happened, and I caught myself a Walking Wake, and it had been chilling in my box. But I really liked the concept of a Pokemon that was a water type but could still take advantage of the sun, because Walking Wake's signature move, Hydro Steam, not only does not get nerfed in the sun, it actually gets powered up in the sun. And to make matters better, Walking Wake's ability Photosynthesis allows it to gain a stat boost in the sun as well. So that's 2 buffs from being in the sun, which is great.
And with Walking Wake, I went ahead and gave it just the correct EV investment so that its speed stat would be 1 point higher than its special attack. And that is what allowed Photosynthesis to activate a speed boost, which I thought was much more important than a special attack boost, because this would allow it to outspeed major threats.
So my first selection was Walking Wake. And then my next selection was my restricted Pokemon, which I wanted to set up the sun to support Walking Wake. And the 2 options were Groudon and Koraidon. When I was using this team on Pokemon Showdown, my original first choice was Groudon. I was using Groudon throughout the times, but I realized that I needed a faster Pokemon. And so I ended up switching over to Koraidon. Now, a lot of people use Koraidon as their main attacker, super fast, all investments in attack and speed. But I did something different. I actually put all my EV investments with Koraidon into its HP and defense, and I gave it the Assault Vest item. This allowed my Koraidon to become unexpectedly bulky to my opponents, and so a lot of the times when they would use an attack on it expecting to KO, it would live, and it can still hit really hard because its ability, which I'm not even going to try and pronounce, but that's the name on the screen right there, is what allows it to not only set up the sun, but it gains a 1.3 times boost to its attack stat while the sun is up. So regardless of it having 0 EV investments in its attack, I still gave it an adamant nature, and with its ability and being in the sun, it was still doing massive damage, especially with its signature move doing even more damage if it's super effective. So I obviously had Walking Wake and I had Koraidon. And my next decision was to add in a staple of VGC, which is Incineroar. Everyone who plays VGC knows that Incineroar is single-handedly one of the best Pokemon to have on your team. Intimidate is a great ability which lowers the attack stat of the opposing Pokemon. Incineroar gains access to Fake Out, which allows you to stop a Pokemon moving for the first turn Incineroar is on the field. It has the move Parting Shot, so it can lower a Pokemon's attack and special attack and then exit the field. And usually Incineroar is slow, so this allows you to get a free switch for a Pokemon that you have sitting in the back, guaranteeing that it will take 0 damage. Not only does it get access to Fake Out and Parting Shot, Incineroar also has Flare Blitz, which allows it to take advantage of the sun, which is being set up by my Koraidon. And last but not least, Incineroar has Knock Off so that it can get rid of any pesky items that might get in the way of it succeeding in doing the job that it needs to do. For example, Clear Amulet on Calyrex Ice or other physical attackers can be knocked off, and then when Incineroar switches back in, Parting Shot and Intimidate can do their job in lowering those Pokemon's stats. So those were the 3 Pokemon that were at the core of my team, and then I realized that I wanted another Pokemon for speed support. Because yes, Koraidon's Sun could boost Walking Wake's speed, activating photosynthesis, but I wanted another means of speed control to make sure that Koraidon would outspeed, and in certain cases, other Pokemon on my team, which I'll reveal soon, can also outspeed. So I went ahead and added another staple of the VGC game, which is Tornadus. Tornadus has the ability Prankster, which allows it to move first before any other Pokemon whenever it uses a non-attacking move. For example, Tailwind. Tailwind allows you to speed control because it doubles the speed stat of all of your Pokemon while it's active for 4 turns. So I went ahead and gave it Tailwind in this moveset right here to allow it to be a nice support Pokemon. And I also gave it the Wide Lens, which allows it to have greater accuracy on its moves Icy Wind and Bleak Wind Storm, which both have the chance to lower the speed of the opposing Pokemon. So if I need Tornadus to attack on a turn, it still has the ability to do speed control. But if I wanted to just go ahead and set up Tailwind, it can do that as well. So it serves a great role in that. And of course, it has Protect as well to prevent any incoming attacks. The next 2 slots switched a lot. Originally, I had Venusaur and Annihilate. The set I was running didn't really get the job done, and so both of these Pokemon, I ended up boxing them and ended up switching into new ones, and those ended up being Gyarados, which I was able to use as a support Pokemon. Some people see Gyarados come in, they see that it has Intimidate, and they might expect it to set up Dragon Dance and start, wreaking havoc on the team, so they might decide to target it. But I ran a bulky set with investments in HP and defense, and I ran the moves Thunder Wave, Helping Hand, and Protect to support the team while also having Waterfall if it needed to attack. This allowed it to serve in a synergy role with Incineroar if I ever needed to come in and double Intimidate, or it could sometimes serve to swap in. If I didn't bring Incineroar to a battle, I could bring Gyarados instead to still have an Intimidate setter, and that really helped to control the battle in diverse situations where the opposing Pokemon might have like an Urshifu water style that would completely destroy my Incineroar, but if I bring Gyarados, it can do nothing to it. And speaking of Urshifu Rapid Strike, I called it water style, but Urshifu Rapid Strike, its official name, that actually ended up being my 6th team member. And I added him because, again, he's another staple of the game. I wanted a Pokemon that was fast and that could hit hard. And I also wanted a Focus Sash Pokemon. If I ever needed to bring it in on something that had set up a lot and would be wreaking havoc, this Pokemon could survive any hit for 100% certainty with 1 shot, and then it could come back and hit powerfully. So Urshifu Rapid Strike ended up being my 6th team member. Now, I will say, that is probably my least used team member in this journey to achieving master rank. I always had it on the team, and I still think that it played a pivotal role in that sense because on the team preview screen, the opponent can only see that you have an Urshifu. They don't know which one it is. So it could be a dark fighting type, or it could be the water fighting type like I had. And because I'm running a sun team with Koraidon, a lot of people would expect the dark fighting type. So when I would bring the water fighting type instead, that would kind of flip things on its head and people wouldn't necessarily realize what I was actually bringing. And this would help with threats like Calyrex, which are psychic types, and Calyrex Shadow Rider specifically, which is 4 times weak to dark. And that would almost force a terrestrialization from them, allowing me to pivot and work on that. So I went ahead and built that team, as y'all can see, and mainly those 4 synergy were Incineroar, Tornadus as leads, using Walking Wake and Koraidon in the back to come in and clean up with their high attack and special attack stats respectively. But Gyarados was a super amazing late game addition, which I would be able to bring into battles, and that's what allowed me to achieve master rank in that season. So it was a really fun time building this new team. It was just a completely new experience because regular team building in single battles, it just is a completely different thought process than double battles where you have to have your Pokemon having synergy. Where like I have move like Protect on my Walking Wake, which I would never think to have on single battles because you just go attack, set up. So it was really cool to have these like supporting move sets and working with these EV sprites that I've been showcasing throughout the video.
And as you can see, for my Terrestrial types, I went with more defensive choices. I went ahead and picked a Terrestrial type for each of the Pokemon that would get rid of all of their weaknesses. That way, if I was in a tight spot during a game, I could go ahead and Terrestrialize, allow that Pokemon to live an extra turn, come back and hit even harder and potentially win the battle. And believe me, that came in handy more often than not.
And of course, I did a little bit of testing with this on Showdown before bringing it into the game, but it was a super fun time crafting and putting this team together. Like I mentioned, how I got the Walking Wake. You might be wondering, how did he get Koraidon? Well, obviously I play Violet. I don't have Scarlet, but you can get 2 Miraidon in your game. Obviously the one that you ride on and then the one that you catch in Area 0. So I was able to transfer my second one to Pokemon Home and look through the GTS until somebody wanted to offer up a Koraidon for a Miraidon. Made that change. That's why you can see that my Koraidon is German. It's not English as my other Pokemon are. And obviously Urshifu, you can get a Cubfu in Scarlet and Violet, but this was around the time that I had just caught the DLC for Sword, which I just talked about in a previous video. So I ended up transferring my Cubfu that I journeyed with throughout Pokemon Sword and Shield and evolved up to an Urshifu in those games, transferred it over to this game. And for my Gyarados and Incineroar, they're both shiny, obviously, so you can see that I did shiny hunts for them. Here up on screen, you can see I caught 3 shiny Litten. This guy was the chosen one that I evolved up to Incineroar. And for the Gyarados, you can see the shiny Magikarp that I caught right here up on screen as well. So it was a really fun time putting these together, and it's like the Avengers assembled from all these different places, like the Koraidon that I got through Pokemon Home, the Walking Wake that I caught through a Max Raid battle online, connecting with a different player, the Tornadus that I transferred from Pokemon Legends Arceus, the Urshifu that I transferred from my Pokemon Sword copy, and then the 2 shiny hunts that I did to complete the team. It was just a really fun time crafting, putting this together, and then having these Pokemon work in such synergy to achieve me to my first master rank in double battles in a VGC style format. But yeah, I just wanted to come on here and kind of explain how I went about doing that, and I'm definitely more excited to build more teams. Obviously, this is my first one. I know it's not the most amazing team to ever exist in the game of Pokemon. Like, I'm not claiming to be some type of master, but it was just a fun time building it, battling with it, achieving master rank, and getting all the goodies that come with that. And I'm excited to continue on. Let me know what your guys' experiences have been with VGC battling in the comment section below. It's been your boy, Eli. I'll see y'all next time. Peace out.